Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Season 2, Episode 10, Jeff is my perfect man.
Mr. Florento, your car is right here. After finding out that Mr. Vigna was planning to deliver to you personally, the Ferrari managers in New York also wanted to ensure that it would reach you safely. Mr. Vigna hired an armored truck to transport your car to ensure that it didn't get damaged.
Thank you.
Jeff smiled at Mr. Vigna.
Mr. Florento, I'll get the car down for you now,
Charles said, and he signaled to the heavily armed men who were standing beside the armored transport vehicle. The two men, still carrying their machine guns, went to the back of the truck and used their keys to open the lock. They opened the door and lowered a ramp, allowing Charles to slowly drive out the car that was stored inside. It was a purple Ferrari. Just its appearance and shape alone were more stunning than Blake's. Charles stepped out of the car, saying,
Mr. Florento, this is the car you ordered. It's also the most valuable car ever sold by Ferrari. Let me introduce this car to you.
He pressed the car's key fob, and all the lights lit up. Some were blue and some were gold. The car door and trunk started moving at the same time. It didn't look like a car, but a futuristic transformer. Charles told Jeff,
Your car was designed by the top 10 designers and engineers in our company. It's different from any other car we've ever manufactured in the past. It really is unique. According to specifications, all the parts and components of this car are of the highest quality in the industry. For the tires, for example, we communicated with the executives of Michelin and had them use only the very best cutting-edge technology.
He continued,
Of course, this car of yours is not just a simple car. It can drive up to a depth of 6 feet underwater without emitting a drop of water, whilst maintaining the same functionality as it has on land. There is also every possibility that you could fly across the Hudson River in it. For most cars, this would be extremely challenging, but because of the unique body design of this car, it should be possible. It has the highest level safety features available across the world, on par with those of the president's cars.
He said proudly.
This car incorporates the most advanced technologies in the world. For instance, the air circulation, surround sound technology, ergonomic seats, bulletproof glass.
Charles continued to introduce the car to Jeff. Even though he had come into contact with so many luxury cars, he still couldn't help but be obsessed with this car. Listening to Charles' introduction, the Cortez family were captivated. Their gazes never left the luxurious Ferrari that was parked in front of them. They felt honored just to have this amazing car parked by their villa. Charles continued,
Mr. Florento, this car has the most advanced artificial intelligence technology. Please enter your fingerprints on the car keys, and you will officially become its exclusive owner.
He respectfully handed the car keys to Jeff, and under his guidance, Jeff recorded his fingerprints. The family cheered. They had quickly forgotten how badly they had previously treated Jeff when they thought he was a nobody. Now, in their eyes, he was the owner of the luxurious car and such an important person that even the president of the Ferrari empire treated him with respect. Now they looked up to him. Elisa was also congratulating Jeff. There was no shock in her eyes, only pride. She hadn't made a mistake, and now she knew that she had chosen a man who could give her a life of luxury. He possessed so much wealth, yet he was so calm and humble.
Mr. Myers, can this car record other people's fingerprints?
Jeff asked.
No, this is your exclusive car, and we can only record your fingerprints.
Charles said apologetically.
I assume that you want to allow others to drive your car. That's no problem. It has also been built into the design. Although others can't record their fingerprints, they can use the voice recognition. The technology is slightly less advanced than the fingerprint security, but as long as they have the car keys, they will be able to drive this car.
Good.
Jeff nodded in satisfaction. He held Alyssa's hand and said to Charles,
Please help me record her voice now.
Elisa was a little dazed. Jeff was giving her the right to drive his $2 million sports car. Her family members were also moved. It was at this moment that they realized what an outstanding boyfriend Elisa had found. Of course, Charles agreed. He went to Elisa, raised a small microphone toward her and said,
Miss, I need to record a sample of your voice. Please say a few words, anything that comes into your head.
She looked at Jeff, who was also looking at her. She realized that Jeff was so handsome that she couldn't help but fall in love with him. She mumbled,
Jeff is my perfect man. He's honest, dignified, and generous.
Jeff's expression froze and he turned his face away.
Miss, please say a few more words. We need to record a little more,
said Charles as he looked at the apparatus to record Alyssa's voice. Looking at Jeff, Alyssa asked him with a voice full of emotion.
Jeff, I like you. Do you want to be with me?
Jeff didn't respond. Charles said happily.
All right, your voice has been recorded. From now on, as long as you have keys to this car on you, you'll be able to drive it.
Then he turned to Jeff and said,
Mr. Florento, do you want to try it out now?
Okay.
Jeff responded. He lowered his body and sat in the driver's seat of the Ferrari. He glanced at Alyssa and asked,
Do you want to try it with me?
Alyssa smiled sweetly and climbed into the passenger seat. The Ferrari door closed slowly. Jeff started the car, and just from the sound of the engine, everyone could tell it was a very high-end car. As Jeff slowly drove the car away, the two exhaust cylinders at the back threw out to flames. This was much more impressive than Blake's car earlier, and everyone exclaimed in admiration. By the time the flames had disappeared, the Ferrari was already 100 yards away. The family had now accepted the fact that Jeff was wealthy. They felt ashamed when they remembered how they had mocked him, and if they could turn back the clock to when they first met him, they would have treated him with far more respect. Although Felisa looked calm inside, she was full of anxiety. She couldn't stop thinking that perhaps she should admit her mistakes to her granddaughter and apologize to Jeff. Jeff drove the car to Purple Dawn Lake. He turned to Alyssa and asked,
How are you feeling?
He opened the window of the car, letting in a gentle breeze. It all felt so perfect.
Wonderful,
replied Alyssa as her hair danced in the wind.
I had no idea that you are so rich. Now, can you tell me who you really are?
I imagine that you already know that there aren't too many people in America with the surname Florento who can afford to buy a Ferrari.
Jeff replied.
You are from the world-famous Florento family?
Alyssa asked with a slightly trembling voice. Indeed, just as Jeff said, she knew that there was only one person in America named Florento who could afford to spend $2 million on a car. She asked,
Do I still have a chance with you?
Alyssa started to feel anxious. She knew that there was no way that the Cortez family could match the Florento family. Jeff thought carefully. He said,
You must be prepared for my family to object to me being with you, just as your family previously objected to you being with me. In fact, the strength of my family's objection will be even greater.
He was being dishonest. The fact was that Jeff would marry whoever he wanted and they would become part of the Florento family. The truth was that he already had Lelaine in his heart. He didn't want to be with anyone else. Jeff coming from the Florento family changed everything. Within important families, marriage was all about status, and Alyssa knew that his family would never accept him marrying someone like her from a small New York family. After driving around to the Purple Dawn Lake for a while, Jeff turned the car around and they headed back toward the villa. When they were still 200 yards away, they saw Blake slowly approaching the gate of the villa in his own Ferrari. A sinister smile appeared on Jeff's face. As Blake drove slowly toward the villa, he saw that the whole of the Cortez family appeared to be standing at the entrance waiting for him. He smiled to himself smugly as he opened the car door. He was about to climb out of the car when a dazzling beam of light blinded him, followed by a loud bang, causing the car to shake violently. When Blake opened his eyes, he saw that the car door had been crushed. He was livid that his $500,000 Ferrari had been damaged. He jumped out of the car to find out who had hit him, only to discover that the car that hit him was not only another Ferrari, but a much more expensive one than his own. The other Ferrari reversed slowly into Blake's car, and only then did Blake realize that the person driving the other car was Jeff.
Does he have a Ferrari?
Blake asked himself in complete shock. Suddenly, Blake heard a roaring sound. Jeff had turned his car around and let the two exhaust cylinders spray fire at Blake's car. First at the car's rear, then at the car's side, and then at the front of the car. No matter how loudly Blake's and Becca's shouted and pleaded, Jeff refused to stop. By the time Jeff had finished with Blake's car, it was unrecognizable, black and crushed. It looks like a pile of scrap metal. As Jeff and Alyssa climbed out of their car, Blake rushed over. He was boiling with rage and looking like he wanted to kill Jeff. Charles quickly ordered the two security guards to intervene. They rushed over, pointing their machine guns at Blake and shouting,
Don't move!
Blake was so scared that he immediately backed off. covering his head with his hands, afraid of being shot. Jeff turned to Charles and said,
Mr. Myers, please talk to the manager at Metrobank and ask him to compensate Blake for his car.
Of course.
He replied. He looked at Blake and said,
Sir, please calm down. I'm the manager of the New York Auto Exhibition Center. And this is Mr. Vigna, the president of Ferrari. We will ensure that you are compensated for your loss.
Blake's mind was in complete disarray. He thought to himself,
Mr. Myers, of the New York Auto Exhibition Center. Mr. Vigna, the president of Ferrari, why are they here? And why are they taking orders from Jeff?
The Cortez family all gathered around Jeff. They were trying to ingratiate themselves to him, but he completely ignored them. He said loudly to Elisa,
I know that your family doesn't want me here.
A wave of denials emanated from various members of the Cortez family, but again Jeff ignored them. He continued,
For this reason, I think it's better if I just leave. Have a good life.
He shouted as he climbed into the Ferrari.